It started the way most bad things do, with something really boring. I was doing a trail assessment for the state parks contractor I work for. Basically, after the summer season, they send someone out to walk the marked trails, check for erosion, downed trees, washed out markers, whatever. Document it all with photos, write up a report, submit it. I've done it maybe 30 times. It's honestly kind of meditative. You walk, you take pictures of a tree root, you keep going. Good headspace work. The plan was to do the South Loop, about 11 miles, park at the main trailhead, finish back where I started, drive 2 hours home. Simple. I've done longer in a day. What I didn't account for was the weather app being wrong. Which, of course. By around 4 in the afternoon the sky went from overcast to actively threatening, and I was still about 4 miles from the trailhead. I did the math. I could push hard, maybe make it before dark. Or I could find the auxiliary ranger station I knew was somewhere on the north spur of the trail and wait out the rain. I'd never been to that station specifically, but they mark them on the trail maps. Little brown squares with a roof symbol. Emergency shelters, essentially. Most of them are just a room with a radio, some first aid, a logbook. I've used them before. Totally standard. I pulled up the offline map I'd downloaded. Thank God I had the offline version. And the station showed up about 1.5 miles up the north spur. Easy. I smelled the rain before it hit. That thick, electric smell. I picked up my pace, took the north spur fork, and honestly the walk was fine. Uneventful. The trail narrowed a bit, more overgrown than the South Loop, but nothing unexpected for an off-season auxiliary spur. Probably doesn't get much traffic after August. The station came into view around a bend, and the first thing I noticed was the light. The windows were glowing. Now, I didn't think much of it right away. My first thought was that a ranger was inside. Made sense. Storm coming, they're probably making rounds, checking on the station. I actually felt relieved. Someone to wait it out with. Maybe they'd have coffee. The rain started. Not a drizzle. Just immediately heavy. The kind that soaks you in 30 seconds. I jogged the last 100 yards or so and came up to the door. I knocked. Nobody answered. I knocked again, louder this time, and called out, "Hello? Anyone in there?" The rain was loud on the metal roof, so I figured maybe they couldn't hear me. I tried the handle. It was unlocked. The door swung open. The station was empty. I mean, it was completely, obviously empty. One room, maybe 12 by 15 feet. Shelving units along one wall with supplies. First aid kit, some emergency blankets, a weather radio, a logbook on a little metal desk. Fluorescent light fixture on the ceiling, both tubes working, buzzing faintly. A space heater in the corner, plugged in and running. A folding chair pushed slightly back from the desk, like someone had just stood up. I stepped inside and called out again, which I know sounds dumb, but I was still assuming someone had just stepped out for a second. Maybe to check something outside. I looked back out the door. Just trees. Rain coming down sideways. I pulled the door mostly closed, unshouldered my pack, and told myself to stop being weird about it. Ranger probably went to check a trail marker or something. They'll be back in 5 minutes. I stood there and dripped on the floorboards and waited. They didn't come back in 5 minutes. I checked my phone. No signal, which was expected. I looked around the room more carefully, and this is where things started to feel off in a way I couldn't immediately explain. The space heater was one of those older coil ones. The coils were deep orange, which meant it had been running for a while. Not like someone just turned it on before stepping out. It had been running. On the desk there was a logbook, which, again, standard. I flipped it open mostly out of boredom. The last entry was from a ranger, initials TC, dated August 14th, maintenance check. Normal stuff. And then below that, in different handwriting, no date, just, station occupied. 2 words. That's it. I looked at it for a second and then looked away and then looked back. Station occupied. It's not a normal logbook entry. I mean, they're supposed to be operational notes. Weather, trail conditions, supply status. Station occupied is not a thing you write. And the handwriting was different from the August entry. Newer ink, too. The August entry had that slight fading you get with a few months of air exposure. This one looked fresh. Fresh like today. I took a picture of it. I don't know why. Habit, I guess. I photograph everything on these assessments. Okay, so here's where I have to be honest with myself, which I wasn't fully doing in the moment. Part of me was rationalizing hard. Ranger must have written it. Weird phrasing, but whatever. Maybe it's a new logging system. Maybe I'm reading too much into a 2-word note in a logbook. The rain is loud and you're tired and just sit down. I sat down. I ate the granola bar I had left in my pack. I checked the weather radio. It was on but not broadcasting anything, just static. I turned it off and on again. More static. Outside, the light was going fast. Rain and early sunset and tree cover. It was getting dark in a way I hadn't fully prepared for because I was supposed to be back at the trailhead by now. And then I heard footsteps on the roof. Not like thumping, dramatic footsteps. More like weight shifting. Like something up there adjusting its position. Slow. Deliberate. I looked up at the ceiling and I didn't move. The sound stopped. I told myself it was an animal. Raccoon. Maybe. Branch coming down in pieces. These things happen. I have heard animals on roofs before and this didn't sound wrong enough to panic about. I kept telling myself that. Then it moved again. Longer this time. Crossing from one side of the roof to the other. Whatever it was big. I stood up slowly and I'm not going to pretend my heart wasn't pounding at that point because it was. But I was still trying to be rational. Bear. Maybe. Black bears are all over northern Pennsylvania. They're curious. They climb things. Okay. I picked up my pack and moved toward the door, and I opened it a crack and looked out. The rain had lightened a little. Not stopped, but lighter. I didn't see anything in the tree line. I looked up at the roof overhang. Just the small sliver I could see from the door. And I didn't see anything there either. I stepped outside. I should have kept walking. I know that now. I should have put the station behind me and gone back to the South Loop and pushed through the dark. I've done night hiking. I had a headlamp. I should have left. Instead, I walked around the side of the building to look at the roof. Nothing was on it. No animal, no branch. Nothing. But there were marks in the mud along the base of the wall. Prints. I crouched down and looked at them with my phone flashlight and I don't know what they were. They didn't look like bear. They were long and narrow, and the impression was deep, like whatever made them was heavy. 4 of them, spaced irregularly, facing the wall, like something had been standing there, pressed against the side of the building. Looking in through the window, I stood up. I swept my flashlight around the tree line, and I saw it, just barely, at the edge of the light, just before the dark swallowed the beam completely. A shape, upright, tall. Standing very, very still between 2 trees about 40 feet out. I said hello. I don't know why. Fight or flight apparently included a third option for me, which is say hello to the thing in the woods like an idiot. It didn't move. I took 1 step toward it and it was gone. Not like it ran. I didn't hear anything. 1 second it was there and 1 second I was just looking at trees. I walked back to the trailhead in the dark. I am not going to dramatize that walk for you because honestly my memory of it is mostly just the sound of my own breathing and trying not to look at anything I didn't have to look at. I kept my headlamp forward. I did not look into the tree line on either side. I moved fast. The South Loop trail markers are reflective and my headlamp caught them every few hundred feet. So I just went from marker to marker like a runway. I got to my truck. I got in. I locked the doors. I sat there for probably 10 minutes before I started the engine. I reported the weird logbook entry to the parks contractor the following week. Mentioned the station occupied note with no date. They said they'd look into it. I don't know if they ever did. I looked up the station on the trail map when I got home. It's listed as a seasonal auxiliary shelter, last fully staffed in 2019. Which means nobody should have had a key to the padlock for the supply cabinet I hadn't noticed was hanging open inside. I saw it in one of the photos I took. I didn't even clock it at the time. And I looked at the photo of the logbook again on my laptop, zoomed in on that second entry. Station occupied. 2 words. No date. No initials. In the margin next to it, in the same handwriting, small enough that I hadn't noticed it on the page, there were 5 small marks. Like a tally. 5 marks. I don't know what they were counting. So, if you're ever doing trail work, hiking, camping, whatever, and you come up on a ranger station, and the lights are on, and you knock and nobody answers, don't go in. I know it's tempting. I know it looks safe. Warm light, shelter from the rain, a place to wait. That's exactly what it looked like to me. But something was in that station before I got there. Something left those marks in the mud. Something was on that roof. And when I think about that logbook, about those tally marks, about what they might mean, I keep coming back to one thing. I was the 5th person to go in.